settings only, please.
Okay. To be intellectually honest, we must look at the hard data of our energy transition. This chart shows India's power capacity mix. You can see the duality clearly. On one hand, non-fossil sources, solar, wind, hydro, and nuclear now make up over 52% of our installed capacity. This is a phenomenal green achievement. But on the other hand, coal and lignite still represent 47% of our capacity, and they generate the vast majority of our actual daily baseload activity. Why? Because the sun doesn't shine at night, and battery storage is still too expensive to afford. And coal remains the baseline engine keeping our hospitals running, our factories humming, and our homes lit. To conclude with this, India's climate diplomacy is a dynamic and pragmatic model for the rest of the developing world. Through multi-alignment, we have proven that a country does not have to choose between prosperity and sustainability. We can demand climate justice and historical accountability from the West while simultaneously acting as a responsible, proactive partner in global green governance. Our journey shows that emerging power can and will play a decisive role in shaping the future of our international environmental law. Thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anand. You are beautifully presented. But stay with us. If there are any question from your co-presenter, so stay with us. Okay.
Sure, sir. Yeah.
Okay. And the next presenter is Arpan Sharkey. Arpan Sharkey, are you there?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. You start your presentation.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Take it with only 5 minutes.
Okay, no issue. I'll be. Well, good afternoon, everyone, respected chairs and fellow participant. My name is Arpan Sharkey, and I'm presenting a paper titled Bilateralism between the India and Nepal, examining the role of state government. Well, Nepal is India's unique neighbor, and India and Nepal share one of the closest, most unique relationship in Southeast Asia. The relationship is in fact based on a shared history, culture, religion, geography, trade, extensive people-to-people interactions. Two countries in fact share open borders of nearly 1850 kilometers, making movement interactions between the people of the both countries relatively very easy. Well, traditionally, what we find is that so far the India-Nepal relation is concerned, we often view this kind of relations, or bilateral relations, or bilateralism, from the lens or from the perspective of what central government do and what central government say. But of late, especially because of the two important reasons, one is of course the regionalization of political party, and second one is of course the changes that has been brought up by the so-called economic reforms of 1991, in fact created a kind of environment that enable state government to start it actively in an incremental basis, engaging in various foreign policy issues, and thereby try to make themselves as one of the important stakeholders. So far the Indian foreign policy is concerned. And to understand this particular thing, the role of state government in India-Nepal relations, I am using a concept or a theoretical lens of paradiplomacy. In a simple sense, what does paradiplomacy mean? Means nothing but simply the state government taking participate in a various foreign policy initiative or international outreach, engagement and influence. Okay, so my central argument is India's strategic culture and regional influence are not expressed only through New Delhi or what union government do or say, but also through the various paradiplomatic engagement, outreach and influences on part of border states. As Nepal shares 5 border states No, being a Nepal, being an international country, shares 5 border states with the Indian states. And I'm here today presenting just the two case study. One, of course, will be of Bihar, and second will be the West Bengal. So so far, the Bihar is concerned, Bihar play a very important role in India-Nepal relations because it share around more than say like 700-kilometer borders with Nepal. Due to their geographical proximity, Bihar and Nepal have developed very close economic, social, cultural, people-to-people connect relations even before the independence. No, one of the Bihar major contributions in the field of trade and connectivity. There are around like say 10 major border points from where this trade and transit connectivity things is happening. Among that, all that 10 border point, Roxol and Jogbani is in fact important one. Roxol and this Jogbani border point play a tremendous role. No, to carry out the day-to-day trade initiatives, activities, people-to-people connect things and all that. Okay, apart from this trade and connectivity, there are in fact on a several occasions what we see is that political leaders from the Nepal is coming to Bihar and the same vice versa.
Sir, please conclude within 1 minute.
Okay. Now I will directly move to like say Bihar, West Bengal. So West Bengal is same way play important role. So far, this India-Nepal relations is concerned. Nepal, in fact, West Bengal act as a Nepal gateway to the world through the Pantinki-Kakarvita border, crossing Siliguri corridor, and allowing in fact allowing the use of Kolkata and Haldia port to the Nepal. Okay, if we speak, I say like. Okay, now I'll just conclude because since time is lacking, so I'm just concluding that since the major finding I just want to share is that like this, like no, actually major finding is nothing that Bihar, West Bengal, and Uttar Pradesh and other states, in fact, contributed significantly. So far, India relations is concerned in terms of water diplomacy, in terms of flood management, in terms of political engagement, in terms of trade, transit and connectivity, in terms of cultural diplomacy, religious tourism, and regional connectivity. Okay, one thing is clear that Indian strategic culture is not necessarily expressed, as I already told it, through what military power, traditional diplomacy that is used to be conducted by the union government, but it is also equally importantly conducted through the what Bihar cooperate on a flood management, what West Bengal facilitate through trade and transit by allowing its port in hinterland, and what Uttar Pradesh doing is in terms of cultural and religious activities. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Arpan, but stay with us. The next presenter is
Dr. Priyanka Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, Magad University.
Priyanka Singh.
Priyanka Singh,
Please,
are you there?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
please, camera on, please.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yes.
share my screen.
Yes. Present your
Okay, sir.
lecture.
So let me share my screen.
Sure. Taking only 5 minutes, Priyanka.
Okay. Very warm greeting to all of you, respected organizer members and all my fellow participants. My topic is between ahimsa and real polity, reassessing India's state strategic culture. As discussed, resource person Professor Mathur sir, there are a tension जो इंडियन ये है स्टेट स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर है उसको लेके शुरुआत से एक डिस्प्यूट का माहौल रहा है कि कुछ लोग तो इसे स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर मानते ही नहीं थे कि इंडिया में स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर है, बट अगर हम दो जो इस्टेब्लिश्ड फ्रेमवर्क हैं, एक क्लासिकल रियलिज्म का और एक आइडियलिज्म का, उन दोनों फ्रेमवर्क में अगर हम इंडिया के स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर को सेट करने की कोशिश करें तो हम देखते हैं कि कोई भी एक फ्रेमवर्क इंडिया के स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर को पूरी तरीके से डिफाइन नहीं करता है। तो मेरे पेपर में इसको रीअसेस करने की कोशिश की गई है कि ये जो टेंशन है ये रियल है या इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर है वो कहीं ना कहीं आइडियलिज्म या अहिंसा या यहाँ का जो सिविलाइजेशनल वैल्यूज़ हैं, पीस, नॉन वायलेंस और ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ये एड का, और एक है नेशनल सिक्योरिटी को प्रोटेक्ट करने का यानी रियलिस्ट जो एक अप्रोच है, उन दोनों के बीच में कहीं आता है। और मेथोडोलॉजी की बात करूँ तो मेरे पेपर में क्वालिटेटिव अप्रोच को यूज किया गया, जिसमें हिस्टोरिकल एंड इंटरप्रिटेटिव एनालिसिस किया गया है। इसके अलावा मैंने अपने स्टडी में फोकस किया है 2014 ऑनवर्ड्स जो भी इंसिडेंट है उसको मैंने मेन फोकस किया है। तो देखा गया है कि इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर है उसमें कहीं ना कहीं इथिकल रिस्ट्रेन, इथिकल वैल्यूज और प्रैग्मेटिक डिसीजन मेकिंग जो है वो दोनों एक साथ देखने को मिलते हैं, और दोनों मिला के एक जो नया सिविलाइजेशनल रियलिज्म का एक टर्म निकल के आता है, जो कि एक नया टर्म है, 2000 के बाद से ये इवॉल्व हुआ है। इसमें सैमुअल हंटिंगटन, अर्नोल्ड टैनबी और स्पेंगलर टाइप के डिफरेंट जो स्कॉलर्स है वो इस पे बात करते हैं कि कोई भी जो सिविलाइजेशन या कोई भी कंट्री है उसका जो स्ट्रेटजिक कल्चर है, उस वो कल्चर मतलब ही सिविलाइजेशन है। तो उसका स्ट्रेटजिक बिहेवियर जो रियलिस्ट पर्सपेक्टिव है, जो इंटरनेशनल ऑर्डर है, उसके साथ साथ उसके जो कल्चरल वैल्यूज है उससे भी प्रभावित होता है। तो वर्तमान समय में जो प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो है उसमें हम देख पाएंगे कि इंडिया के जो भी इनिशिएटिव्स होते हैं उसमें कहीं ना कहीं जो रियल सिचुएशन है उसको तो रिस्पॉन्स करने का उसका मेन उद्देश्य होता है, लेकिन उसके जो सिविलाइजेशनल वैल्यूज हैं वो भी इनहेरेंट होते हैं। लाइक इंडिया का न्यूक्लियर डॉक्ट्रिन जो है, जिसमें जब इंडिया न्यूक्लियर परमाणु परीक्षण करता है, न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट करता है, तो ये देखा जाता है कि ये इंडिया का जो ट्रेडिशनल वैल्यू था नॉन वायलेंस पीस, उसके अगेंस्ट है, लेकिन इंडिया ने उसमें उस वैल्यूज को भी इनकॉर्पोरेट किया, नो फर्स्ट यूज पॉलिसी अपना के। देन जो रिसेंट टाइम है उसमें और भी चेंजेस देखने को आए कि अब हम न्यूक्लियर पावर का यूज करने की भी बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन एक बहुत ही कैलिब्रेटेड टाइप से और बहुत ही मतलब फर्स्ट अग्रेशन के रूप में नहीं, लेकिन अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो हम इसका यूज भी कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि पीस को बनाए रखने के लिए ये जरूरी है कि आप भी उतने पावरफुल पोजिशन में हो। और एक सागर जो इनिशिएटिव है, डिफरेंट इनिशिएटिव है, मैंने कुछ इनिशिएटिव को टारगेट किया, जिसमें सागर में है कि सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल रीजनल्स जो रीजन्स हैं, जो खासकर इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन में इंडिया का जो पावर है उसको अमेरिका ही इंडिया को नेट सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर का टर्म से डिस्क्राइब करता है। इंडिया के लोकेशन को नेट सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर का मतलब है कि केवल इंडिया अपने सिक्योरिटी को नहीं सुरक्षित करेगा, बल्कि उस रीजन्स में रहने वाले जो छोटे छोटे लिटरल कंट्रीज हैं उनके भी हित को वो उसी तरीके से सुरक्षित करेगा। इसके अलावा अगर हम बात करें तो जो इंडिया अपने सॉफ्ट पावर और स्ट्रेटेजिक जो उसका वो है उसको कंबाइन करके चलने की कोशिश करता है। जैसे ह्यूमैनिटेरियन डिप्लोमेसी करता है, कहीं भी क्राइसिस है तो इंडिया उस क्राइसिस में भले उसका कोई स्टैंड डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली रहे ना रहे, लेकिन वो अपने सिटीजन को सिक्योर करने में, वहाँ पे पीस इस्टेब्लिश करने में हमेशा एक पोजिशन उसका रहता है, हमेशा आगे रहता है। और इंडिया जब भी उसके कोई भी एम्बेसडर हैं या मिनिस्टर हैं, जब भी वो किसी इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पे बोलते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं वो पीस को सिक्योर करने और वार को रोकने की बात करते हैं। और हम देखते हैं कि इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर है वो कहीं ना कहीं
प्लीज कंक्लूड विद इन 1 मिनट।
यस सर, डेफिनेटली सर। तो हम देख सकते हैं कि इंडिया बहुत सारे ऐसे इंडिया के इनिशिएटिव्स हैं, जिसमें अभी जैसे प्रोफेसर माथुर सर के भी लेक्चर में था कि जो वर्तमान में जो सिचुएशन है जिसमें कि अमेरिका ईरान युद्ध है या यूक्रेन रशिया युद्ध है, जिसमें इंडिया के जो स्टैंड्स हैं उनको बहुत क्रिटिसाइज किया गया है, लेकिन ये भी एक तरीके की स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑटोनॉमी है कि ऐसे प्रेसिंग सिचुएशन में भी किसी के फेवर में या किसी के अगेंस्ट इंडिया अपने व्यू को नहीं रखेगा। वो अपने स्ट्रेटेजिक इंटरेस्ट को सिक्योर कर रहा है, अपने एनर्जी जो उसके ये एनर्जी के जो सोर्सेज हैं उनको सिक्योर करते हुए इंडिया ने ये पोजीशन अपनी स्ट्रेटेजिक ऑटोनॉमी बना रखी है कि वो कुछ नहीं बोलेगा। जैसा कि सर ने मेरे लिए भी एक नया इंसाइट था कि नामंदक और नीतिशार का उन्होंने दिया था, रेफरेंस दिया था कि उपेक्षा, कि ये जानते हुए भी कि क्या सिचुएशन है उसमें किसी के फेवर में ना बोलना। तो इस तरीके से मेरे पेपर का कंक्लूजन पॉइंट है कि इंडिया जो है उसकी डिप्लोमेसी ना ही प्योरली अहिंसा वाली है, आइडियलिस्ट है, ना ही टोटली रियलिस्ट है। एक ये बैलेंसिंग सिचुएशन में इंडिया की स्ट्रेटेजिक कल्चर काम कर रही है, जो इंडिया के हित के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर फॉर गिविंग मी दिस
for your excellent presentation, but stay with us. Next presenter is Shreya Tamang. Hariyam Singh Sisodia. Hariyam Singh Sisodia.
Yes.
Please
Yes, sir.
start your presentation with and conclude it within 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure, sir. I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes. Continue.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair, for this opportunity for presenting the paper. The topic is the minilateralism and maritime power, India's use of the Quad, BIMSTEC, and IORA in the Indo-Pacific region. My name is Hariom Singh Sishodia, and I'm a research scholar in Barkatullah University, Bhopal, and these are my mail ID and the ORCID IDs. Now, talking about the introduction part, the minilateralism and the maritime power in the Indo-Pacific, this is the main reason that I'll be focusing on, where we have the BIMSTEC group in the ASEAN region of India. And then we have IORA, where we try to cover the Indo-Pacific region. And then we have the Quad, where we have different groupings like USA, Japan, Australia, and India. All these three different groups cater different needs of India that we will be discussing. So the research objective is to examine how India's participation in the Quad, BIMSTEC, and IORA contribute to the maritime security objective, and to assess the connectivity, trade, and the blue economy. Talking about the research question, I'll try to explore how does India's simultaneous engagement with these groups reflect a broader multilateral strategy for a maritime influence, and what are the economic and connectivity instruments there. Now, the basic research is that these three different groups, that is Quad, BIMSTEC, and IORA, have different strategic imperatives that are mentioned here. Quad having the high-end security, BIMSTEC having the physical sub-regional connectivity, and IORA for the ocean-wide geographical governance and the legitimacy. We have 60% of the share of global economic output generated within the Indo-Pacific zone, and around 50% of the share of the global population residing in the region, that is Indo-Pacific. So this region requires a portfolio of partnership, not a single rigid alliance. Talking about this strategy of India, we have Sagar strategy that my co-fellow researcher, Dr. Priyanka, just discussed about. 2015, we had Sagar strategy, security and growth for all in the region. In 2019, we had Indo-Pacific Ocean initiatives, and in 2025, we have Mahasagar strategy to expand our outreach explicitly into the global South network, pushing the doctrinal boundary further. So talking about the naval posture, here you can see on the right side where we have 2025, 2030, and 2035 target of the fleets that India is targeting. In 2035, we are targeting around 200 fleets. Talking about the theoretical framework of this study, we have neorealism, that is balancing of China. We have geo-economic statecraft, that is utilizing the connectivity in the Indo-Pacific, and the targeted minilateralism, also the strategic autonomy adhering to the non-alignment 2.0. This is the geographical structure that we are trying to cover through these three different groups, that is IORA, BIMSTEC, and the Quad, where we are trying to cover the highlighted part that is here in the slide. Now, if I talk about the Quad delivery, then we have the macro weight of members representing 24% of the global population, 35% of the economic output, and 18% of the global commerce. We have the surveillance evolution in the Quad and the supply chain pivot that talks about the 2026 Critical Minerals Initiative framework that aims to bypass China's dominance in the advanced processing. If I talk about the connectivity of the Bay of Bengal, BIMSTEC group is equally important for us. And then we have the IORA, where we can see these different sea of lanes communication passing through the Indian Ocean region. That is why IORA group is also important for India. So these groups highlights how India's blue economy is the economic engine driving the minilateral expansion, where we have Gear 1 as the domestic focus, where we focus on Sagarmala initiative. Then we have BIMSTEC connectivity for the regional links, and for the global routes, we have the IOR in the Quad security and securing the lanes that carry 95% of India's total trade by the volume. Now, talking about these three groups comparatively, in Quad is for the balancing security, BIMSTEC is for sub-regional connectivity, and IORA is for the ocean-wide. I have already talked about the geographical weight of these three groups. Then we have security posture, high-end and internal counter-terrorism, and the safety. Talking about the reality check, the ambition that we are...
Please conclude within 1 minute.
Yeah, sure, sir. So, talking about the reality check, we have ambition of 839 project worth $67 billion map, but in reality, only 32% of this is completed. We have 6 to 7% completion of the project in the BIMSTEC region, and for the Quad, we have nascent grouping that largely because of the USA and the influence of the Donald Trump in this grouping. Now, talking about the conclusion, we just discussed how the Quad serves as a platform for security, BIMSTEC for the connectivity, and IORA for the governance. The main thing that we have to focus is on the paper that concludes that India has developed a coherent multi-institutional maritime strategy, but whether this strategy will ultimately translate into a sustained Indo-Pacific leadership remains an unresolved question. And this is it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sisudia, for your excellent presentation. Stay with
Thank you,
us.
sir.
Our next presenter is
Shreya Tamang,
Shreya Tamang.
Sikkim University.
Shreya Tamang,
Yes, sir.
please deliver your paper.
So is it okay if I share the screen?
Yes, yes. And you taking only 5 minutes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, sure, sir. Not a problem. So I hope it's visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So since we only have 5 minutes, I'll be rushing a bit. So the topic is the land boundary agreement between India and Bangladesh, 1974 to 2015, strengthening neighborhood ties. So the main focus here of the statement is land, boundary, and agreement. So we all are well aware that ever since hunting and gathering, and when it shifted to gift economy and much more, what happened is the concept of boundary became much more important. Since then, the boundary agreements have also gained importance. So talking about two such countries, India and Bangladesh, we can see, I have just pointed out here in a table, that it shares 4,096 approximate kilometers of border, and it makes one of the longest land border. So that's why it becomes very important for India especially to take care of its land borders, international borders, especially concerning Bangladesh. So but before going to the historical background, it is not possible for us to understand what land boundary agreements and its importance actually is, because in the news or wherever we have been seeing how historic moment it was during 2015 when Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sheikh Hasina signed this particular agreement, and age-long conflict was actually put to an end. So this started from the very beginning. That is, we have to travel back to Indian independence itself, when the boundary demarcation took place between India and Bangladesh. But much before that, Pakistan obviously comes to play. And there was this failure of Radcliffe Award. After that, it was continued by. So after the failure of the Radcliffe Award, naturally the steps were taken to rectify it. So Nehru Noon Award agreement was one that happened, that actually amended the Article 368 of the Indian Constitution under the 9th Amendment Act of 1960. So with a series of events, obviously when there is a concern about agreements, and there will be a series of negotiations. So after a series of negotiations, it was signed in 1974, but again there were certain problems with both ends, which led to ratification in 2011. And finally in 2015, it was actually signed. So the main crucial thing here was three main areas. That is, one is the undemarcated land boundary. Now you can imagine a country with undemarcated land boundary, the complexities it will bring. But I have just highlighted three areas here. That is Daikata of West Bengal, Muhuri River, Belonia, Tripura, and Latitila of Assam. Apart from this also, the importance that it holds is because of the enclave exchange. Now, enclave is basically a piece of land that is under foreign land. So this particular situation is a very unique history that India and Bangladesh holds. Apart from that, also there are few like San Marino, but I think when it comes to Indian perspective, then Kuch Bihar is such a region where there are almost 51 Bangladeshi enclaves, and which was actually exchanged. 11 enclaves in Bangladesh with and Bangladeshi enclaves in India. So I'm giving emphasis to the numbers here because you can imagine a piece of land being these lands being exchanged and the demographic changes, the social economic changes that
Shreya madam,
yes.
please conclude within 1 minute.
Okay, sir. So so these are the details that adverse position was also one of it, and the enclave. So all the yellow portion you can see is actually the enclave thing that happened here. So my main motive of choosing this topic was because of highlighting that 2015 Land Boundary Agreement did have a significant role in ending a long, prolonged conflict that is the neighborhood dispute that happened, and it gave rise to different opportunities for the future. For example, it created a positive impact for neighborhood first, Act East policy, and so on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your nice presentation. Stay with us. Next presenter is
Himani, CCS University Merit. Himani, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, start your paper.
Yes,
please conclude within 5 minutes, ma'am.
definitely, sir.
Please
Let me
start.
share my screen. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay, okay, okay.
Is it visible, sir?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Carry on.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Himani, and I'm going to present my paper on India's maritime geopolitics and its strategic imperatives in the Indian Ocean region. So let's start with the Indian Ocean. We know the Indian Ocean carries nearly two-thirds of the world's oil shipments and about a third of global bulk cargo. For India, sitting at the heart of this ocean is not just geography, but it's a strategic destiny. Over 90% of India's trade by volume moves by sea. So, how India navigates this space determines not just its security but also its economic future. So let's start with the challenges. Three stands out. First is China's expanding footprint, often called the string of pearls, through ports in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and also infrastructure investment in Djibouti and Maldives. China has steadily built a network of access points encircling India. This is not just commercial, it has clear dual use of military potential as well. Similarly, when we are talking about the second challenge, we may refer to the non-traditional security threat. For example, piracy in the Horn of Africa, maritime terrorism, illegal fishing, and also drug and arm trafficking through the Arabian Sea. These threats don't respect borders and require a constant naval vigilance. Third challenge we may talk about is the choke point vulnerability. India's energy and trade lifelines run through narrow choke points. The Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Malacca, the Bab el Mandeb. These are some examples of these choke point vulnerability. Any disruption at these points, whether from conflict, piracy, or blockade, they may have some immediate cascading effect on India's economy. Now we shall talk about the opportunities, and these are the real ones. India has the advantage of geography and historical goodwill. Historical goodwills. For example, when we are talking about geography, its central position in the Indian Ocean region combined with civilizational and trade links, it often links its civilization to backward tradition of these ancient civilizational roots which we had for centuries. It gives its natural legitimacy as a security provider, just like Priyanka ma'am has said earlier, rather than an outside power. Similarly, initiatives like Sagar, Security and Growth for All in the region, which is now translated into Mahasagar, position India as a net security provider, not a hegemon. This is a deliberate contrast to more assertive regional approaches. Now let's look upon the emerging dynamics which we often can relate with the Indian Ocean region. We are seeing the Indo-Pacific construct, increasingly replacing the older Asia-Pacific framing, explicitly linking the Indian and Pacific Oceans and placing India at the center of a larger strategic theater, not on the peripheral one. There is also a clear shift towards naval modernization and indigenization, indigenous aircraft carriers, submarine program, and a push for self-reliance in defense production under Atmanirbhar Bharat. It reduces India's dependence on imported platforms. Finally, the regional institution building is gaining momentum in India. Frameworks like Indian Ocean Rim Association and the Colombo Security Conclave are slowly evolving from talking shops into more operationally relevant security architects. To conclude my research, I would like to say that India's position in the Indian Ocean region can be best understood not as a fixed advantage, but as a contested space requiring continuous strategic investment. The challenges are real: great power competition, no traditional threats, and choke point dependency. But India's response through partnerships, indigenous capability building, and a security provider rather than dominator posture gives it a credible and increasingly influential position. Thank you.
Thank you, Himani.
Thank you, sir.
Completed within time and stay with us. The next presenter is Triloknath and Priyanka and Dr. Anil Kumar Meena.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please present your paper and taking only 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Respected Chairperson, distinguished scholars, faculty members, and fellow researchers, good afternoon. I am Triloknath, research scholar in the Department of Defense, Strategic and Geopolitical Studies at HNV Gadwal University. It's my privilege to present my research paper titled Significance of Strategic Infrastructure for National Security at this national seminar. The contemporary security environment has transformed the role of infrastructure from being merely an economic asset to becoming a critical instrument of national power. In region characterized by territorial disputes and geopolitical competition, in infrastructure directly influences military mobility, force projection, deterrence capability, border management, and national sovereignty. My papers examines the crucial role of infrastructure in enhancing national security, with particular focus on the infrastructure competition between India and China along the line of actual control. The study argues that strategic infrastructure, including roads, railways, tunnels, airports, bridges, and surveillance system, has become a vital instrument for military preparedness, border management, deterrence, and sovereignty protection. China's rapid infrastructure expansion in Tibet and Xinjiang, following the 2017 Doklam standoff, highlighting the development of highways, railways, airfields, and border villages that have significantly improved the People's Liberation Army's logistical and operational capabilities. In response, India has accelerated its own border infrastructure development through the Border Road Organization and schemes like Border Infrastructure and Management Scheme,
If there is candidate, then started.
Border Area Development Program, and Vibrant Village Program, and various strategic roads, tunnels, and airstrip projects. A comparative assessment is that while China maintains a substantial advantage in infrastructure scale and railway connectivity, India has made considerable progress in recent years, particularly in roads, construction, technological integration, and border area development. Recently, India has emphasized the growing importance of a smart surveillance system, drones, and integrated border management technologies in modern security framework. In conclusion, I'll say strategic infrastructure has emerged as one of the most decisive elements of national security in 21st century. The India-China infrastructure competition along the LAC illustrates how roads, railways, tunnels, airports, surveillance system, and border settlements have become instruments of deterrence, sovereignty, and power projection. Ultimately, a nation's ability to secure its borders depends not only on military strength but also in the infrastructure that support and sustain that strength. Therefore, strategic infrastructure must be viewed as an indispensable pillar of national security and military preparedness. And last, I'll say, a state that cannot reach its borders cannot defend them. Thank you.
Thank you, Triloknath, and stay with us. Next presenter is Shomallo Ghosh. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Please start your presentation.
Hello.
Yes,
হ্যালো বিবেকানন্দদা।
yes.
আচ্ছা, আমি দীননাথ বলছি বোলপুর কলেজ থেকে। বলছি আমাদের একটা ইমার্জেন্সি টিচার্স কাউন্সিলের মিটিং চলছে, আমাকে যদি একটু অ্যালাউ করে দেন তাহলে খুব ভালো হয়। আমি জাস্ট মিটিং থেকে 10 মিনিটের জন্য বেরিয়ে এসেছি, প্রায় 15 মিনিট হয়ে গেল বসে আছি। তাহলে যদি দেন তাহলে খুব ভালো হয়, আবার মিটিং জয়েন করতে পারবো গিয়ে।
Okay. So, Shomallo, please,
Okay, sir.
please.
Okay.
Give the opportunity to Dinonath Mondal.
Okay, sure, sir.
Okay. So, Dinonath Mondal, please start your presentation.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
And complete it within 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm trying to less than 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Start.
Thank you, Bimalanduda, for allowing me to present my paper as early as possible. And sorry to the other paper presenters that I have intervened within your time. Sorry. Actually, an emergency meeting is going on within my college, so I am not in a position to wait for more time. Thank you. My name is Dr. Dinanath Gondal, Assistant Professor of Bolpur College. My topic is recent India-Bangladesh relations and evolving scenario. As you know that, among many other similarities, India and Bangladesh share a rich historical background, a common language and a common culture, a broad alliance based on mutual respect, equality, sovereignty and understanding is the testament of the exceptional nature of the bilateral relationship. This partnership has become a model for bilateral relations, both internal and external. As a testament to the continued sustainability of the relationships, bilateral dialogue between the two countries has significantly increased in the first half of the 2024. In January 2024, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina won a historic 4th consecutive elections, but on January 8, 2024, following her re-election as a Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Prime Minister Modi spoke to her by phone and wished her. But subsequently, hired student protests demanding change to the reservation system for government jobs forced Hasina to resign. So, internal crisis Bangladesh seen. So there are, I just mentioned 4 points. For the recent scenario of India-Bangladesh relations. First is the border and migration tension. A long and porous border is experiencing significant frictions, language issues regarding illegal migration, border management disputes, and stricter Indian policies on the deportation and border fencing to have led to heightened diplomatic tensions. The India-Bangladesh border presents unique challenges owing to its varied terrain, which includes mountains and riverine regions, etc. When asked about primary challenge in managing the India-Bangladesh border, the ministry said that illegal migration, smuggling, cross-border terrorism, and border disputes remain significant concern, compounding by difficult terrain and political sensitivities across India-Bangladesh border. And the second point is security cooperation. Bangladesh historical cooperation in quelling anti-India insurgent groups has been crucial for Northeast Indian stability. However, recent internal unrest in Bangladesh and allegation of violence against religious and ethnic minorities have drawn intense public and diplomatic scrutiny from New Delhi. And third is the economic and trade relations. India and Bangladesh share a robust economic and trade relationship that has witnessed significant growth over the past decade. Bangladesh is India's biggest trade partner in South Asia, and India is the second biggest trade partner of Bangladesh in Asia. India remains one of the largest export destinations for Bangladesh goods, particularly raw cotton, rice, and agricultural products, alongside electrical machineries, automobiles, and industrial chemicals. And fourth is infrastructure development and connectivity. Over the last few years, infrastructure development and connectivity cooperation has become a central tenet of the India-Bangladesh bilateral partnership. The of connectivity has also been extended to go beyond physical connectivity to include energy and digital connectivity. Keep their geographic proximity and share socio-economic interest, connectivity initiatives have evolved from being mere physical linkage to become comprehensive frameworks for economic integrations, regional stability, and people-to-people contact. For India, enhanced connectivity with Bangladesh provides vital access to the northeastern states, the Bay of Bengal, and key trade routes in Southeast Asia. While the Bangladesh it offers opportunities for increased trade and
please conclude within 1 minute. Please.
Close to India's market and technological capabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. If possible, stay with us.
Okay, thank you.
Please start your presentation.
Okay, sir. First of all, thank you to the chair and the college, Sudhir Ranjan Lahiri Mahavidyalaya, for organizing such useful and academic venture. Today my topic is, does environment matter? Reconceiving India's strategic culture in the age of environmental degradation. In writing this paper, I have examined two research objectives, that is, to examine the nature and extent of environmental degradation in India, and to analyze the impact of environmental degradation on India's strategic culture and national security, along with the role of environmental sustainability in strengthening India's future strategic position. The research question is, how does environmental degradation affect India's strategic culture? In what way do the environmental challenges influence the India's national security and development priority? And can environmental sustainability enhance India's strategic influence in regional and global politics? In writing this draft paper, a descriptive analytical research design based on qualitative methodology has been followed. Now, when we go back to the era of environmental degradation, is not only environmental environmental degradation has emerged as a critical challenge to national development and security, and climate change, resource scarcity, biodiversity loss, pollution increasingly affect the state's capacity. The core argument is environmental degradation weakens India's strategic capability by undermining economic growth, social stability, resource scarcity, and national resilience. Now, when we study the understanding the strategic culture in case of India, it means that India's strategic culture includes the civilizational ethos of coexistence with nature, strategic autonomy, sustainable development concern, human-centric security approach, and along with environmental stewardship embedded in traditional knowledge system. Now, in writing this paper, the environmental security theory, which particularly give a emphasis on that security threats are not limited to military attack, rather than environmental degradation directly influence the strategic preparedness and national security. Environmental degradation in India has its several dimensions like climate change, water crisis, air pollution, land degradation, biodiversity loss, and which has resulted in growing pressure on India's developmental and strategic capability. Now, what are the challenges this environmental degradation has left on Indian strategic culture? Resource competition, internal security concern, border vulnerabilities, economic impact. Means environmental degradation is transforming India's strategic priorities. Now, in this context, we can say that environmental degradation is a non-traditional security threat. It affects India's strategic culture by reshaping the national priority. Environmental sustainability is becoming center to the strategic planning, along with green development enhances strategic resilience and policy and global influence. Now, coming to the policy recommendations, where the India can reorient its strategic culture along with the keeping in mind the environmental sustainability. India needs to build, strengthen its climate resilient infrastructure. It needs to integrate environmental security into national security planning. It needs to promote sustainable resource governance, need to enhance regional environmental cooperation. Along with it has to ensure that adequate investment in renewable energy and green technologies should be done in order to in order to divert its weakness, to convert its weakness into its opportunity. Now, India, in concluding remark, we can say that India's future strategic strength will depend not only on military capability and economic growth, but on its ability to achieve ecological sustainability and environmental resilience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shomallo. Stay with us.
Okay,
Next
sir.
presenter is Archana Pandey. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please start your presentation and complete it within 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good evening, respected chair, distinguished delegates, fellow scholars and participants. I'm Archana Pandey, LLM from Central University of Jharkhand. It is my pleasure to present our paper titled India's Quest for Regional Leadership, a Strategic Cultural Perspective on the Neighborhood First Policy. This paper is jointly authored by me and Mr. Kumar Saurabh, PhD scholar, University Department of Political Science, Ranchi University, and Icssr full-term doctoral fellow. India's emergence as a significant regional and global actor has renewed scholarly interest in understanding its role within South Asia. As the largest country in the region in terms of geography, population, and economic capability, India occupies a central position in shaping regional political and security dynamics. In this context, the Neighborhood First policy has emerged as one of the most important pillars of India's contemporary foreign policy. Introduced in 2014, the policy seeks to strengthen relations with neighboring countries through political engagement, economic cooperation, connectivity initiatives, development assistance, and security collaboration. Against this backdrop, our paper seeks to examine an important question. How far has the Neighborhood First policy contributed to India's aspiration of becoming a regional leader in South Asia? And what role does India's strategic culture play in shaping this policy? This primary objective of this study is to analyze India's Neighborhood First policy through the lens of strategic culture and evaluate its contribution to India's quest for regional leadership in South Asia. Before discussing our findings, it is important to briefly review the existing literature. The concept of strategic culture has been widely discussed by scholars such as Jack Sinder, Lester, Ian Johnston, and Colin Gray. These scholars argue that countries' historical experiences, values, and collective beliefs significantly influence its foreign policy behavior. In the Indian context, scholars such as Stephen Cohen, Kanti Bajpai, and C. Raja Mohan have examined India's strategic thinking and regional engagement. However, while reviewing the literature, we observed that most studies focus on geopolitical competition, economic cooperation, connectivity projects, or China's growing influence in South Asia. Comparatively, less attention has been given to understanding the Neighborhood First policy through the framework of strategic culture. This constitutes the central research gap that our paper attempts to address. To address this gap, the study adopts a qualitative and analytical methodology. It is based on secondary sources, including academic books, peer-reviewed journals articles, government reports, policy documents, official statements, and publications from various think tanks. The study uses descriptive and interpretive analysis to understand the relationship between India's strategic culture and its neighborhood diplomacy. Coming to the discussion, the paper argues that the India's strategic culture provides the foundation for understanding its regional behavior. India's strategic outlook has been shaped by its civilizational heritage, the experience of colonialism, the principles of non-alignment, and the continuing emphasis on strategic autonomy. Ideas such as peaceful coexistence, dialogue, and cooperation continue to influence India's foreign policy approach. These values are reflected in the Neighborhood First policy, which emphasizes partnership rather than dominance and cooperation rather than confrontation. The policy aims to create a stable and prosperous regional environment that contributes both to India's national interest and regional development. Our analysis begins with Bangladesh, which represents one of the most successful examples of the policy. Bilateral relations have significantly improved through enhanced connectivity, growing trade, security cooperation, and the successful implementation of the Land Boundary Agreement. Bangladesh demonstrates how sustained diplomatic engagement can strengthen regional partnerships. The second case is Nepal. Despite deep historical, cultural, and religious ties, India Nepal relations have occasionally faced challenges arising from political sensitivities.
Archana
Constitutional.
madam, please conclude
Yes,
within
yes.
1 minute.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Based on our analysis, the paper advances three central arguments. First, India's neighborhood first policy is deeply rooted in its strategic culture and reflects a preference for dialogue, cooperation, and development oriented diplomacy. Second, India's religion leadership depends not only on economic, military capabilities, but also on trust buildings, credibility, and the ability to deliver tangible benefits to neighboring countries. Third, the long term success of the policy requires balancing India's strategic interests with the aspirations and concerns of smaller neighboring states. The study also identifies several important findings. Bangladesh and Bhutan represents the most successful example of India's neighborhood engagement, while Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Maldives illustrate the opportunities and challenges associated with regional leadership in a changing geopolitical environment. At the same time, India faces several challenges. These include perceptions of asymmetry among smaller neighbors, delays in infrastructure projects, unresolved bilateral issues, and increasing strategic competition from China. Such challenges demonstrate that regional leadership is not achieved solely through material power, but through sustained diplomatic engagement and mutual trust. To conclude, the paper argues that the neighborhood first policy represents an important expression of India's strategic culture and regional ambitions. The policy has undoubtedly strengthened the India's engagement with its neighbors and enhanced its regional profile. However, sustaining regional leadership in the future will require India to remain responsive, inclusive, and sensitive to the concerns of neighboring countries while continuing to promote connectivity, development cooperation, and regional stability. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana madam. Stay with us. The next presenter is Tonai V. Tonai V, are you there? Tonai V.
Yes, yes, I'm there. Just give me a moment.
Okay, please start your presentation and taking only 5 minutes and complete within 5 minutes.
A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanaivi. I'm from the Department of Sociology at St. Joseph's University, and I'm presenting my paper titled Rajendra Chola's One, Maritime Statecraft, Naval Power, and the Evolution of Indian Strategic Culture. Now, when discussions on Indian strategic culture were taken place, attention was often given to land-based empires and military campaigns and territorial expansion. But however, in Indians' maritime traditions, we received comparatively a very less attention. So this paper attempts to highlight the importance of how naval power in early Indian statecraft through the example of Rajendra Chola I is one of the most influential rulers of the Chola Empire. Now, speaking on Rajendra Chola, he was a king who ruled between 112 and 144 CE, 1044 CE, and expanded the Chola Empire to its greatest extent. Unlike many other rulers who focused primarily on territorial conquest through land warfare, but Rajendra Chola was someone who strategized, a territorial conquest through land and even towards the sea as well. Now, under his leadership, we can see that the Chola Navy, they became very powerful. They had a very powerful instrument for protecting trade routes, for extending political influence, and even for strengthening economic prosperity. Now, the objective of the study is to understand how naval power was used as a tool of governance and statecraft during Rajendra Chola I's reign, and rather than viewing maritime expansion simply as a military conquest, this paper examines how sea power can be contributed towards administration, commerce, diplomacy, and even regional influence. Now, the study is completely based on qualitative historical approach, where we drew upon historical writings, inscriptions, copper plate, grants, royal records, and even the accounts of maritime expeditions from the Cholan period. Now, these sources helped us in understanding the relationship between naval activity and also the political authority during the 11th century. Now, the findings which was derived from the study was it suggested that Rajendra Chola's naval campaigns were not conducted solely for warfare. Instead, they were also a part of a broader strategic vision. Now, how maritime power helped secure the important trade networks across the Bay of Bengal, and how it facilitated commercial exchanges, and how it enhanced the prestige of the stolen state. And through these activities, the Cholas were able to establish influence over neighboring regions and even maintaining strong economic connections. Another important finding was that naval strength was closely linked to political legitimacy. Successful maritime expeditions projected the images of strong and a capable ruler, how Rajendra Chola I was, and they demonstrated the state's ability to protect commercial interests and engage with the distant regions. So in this sense, we can see that sea power became an extension of governance rather than merely a military resource. The study also shows that Chola Empire possessed a sophisticated understanding of strategy, and their maritime activities combined economic interests, political authority, and diplomatic influence, which reflects an organized approach to governance where military capability was integrated with broader state objectives. Now, to conclude, Rajendra Chola I's reign demonstrates that maritime power occupied an important place in India's historical and strategic culture, and his policies reveal that naval strength was used to only for conquest, but also not just for conquest, but also for securing trade, enhancing political authority, and even extending his regional influence. So the Chola experiences reminds us that India's strategic traditions have long included a maritime dimension, and that state power has historically contributed to governance and statecraft. Thank you. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Tanay. Stay with us. The next presenter is Dibba Singh Chauhan. Dibba Singh Chauhan, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am there. Good evening.
Carry on.
Hello. Today I will present my paper titled China's Maritime Coercion in Philippines, Implication for India's Indo-Pacific Strategy. The South China Sea is one of the world's most strategic, important maritime regions. Approximately 1/3 of the global maritime trade worth nearly $3.4 trillion annually passes through these waterways. The region is also believed to contain significant reserves of oil and natural gas and fisheries resources, making it a more crucial junction. Over the last 3 years or 5 to 6 years, the confrontation between China and Philippines are around the second Thomas Sowell Islands has emerged as one of the most visible example of maritime coercion in contemporary international politics. My paper argues that China action against the Philippines are not isolated incidents, but part of broader strategy of gray zone coercion, and that India must study these developments carefully because similar patterns are becoming visible in Indian Ocean region, that is in Hambantota Port and others. China's maritime coercion in Philippines, China has increasingly relied on non-military instruments to expand its influence in disputed water. A notable example is the use of China's Coast Guard and maritime militia, not the naval power, rather than in August 2023, China's Coast Guard vessel used water cannons against Philippines resupply chains ship heading towards the BRP Sierra Madre, stationed at the second Thomas Sowell Island. In February 2023 and again in 2024, reports emerged Chinese vessels directing military-grade lasers at Philippines cruise. In June 2024, Chinese personnel boarded Philippine vessel during a confrontation near Second Thomas Hall Island and reportedly seized equipment firearms from Philippine sailors. These incidents demonstrate China's preference for operating below the threshold of armed conflict while steadily altering the status quo. Scholars describe this strategy as a salami slicing, the gradual accumulation of small gains, then individuals appear insignificant but collectively transform the strategic environment. The legal foundation of the dispute was significantly shaped by 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling under UN clause. The tribunal ruled that China's 9-9 claim has no legal basis under the international law and confirmed that the several disputes could generate extensive maritime zones. Despite this landmark, China rejected the verdict and continued its activities. In this response, Philippines adopted strategy of transparency since 2022. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. administration has systematically released videos and photographic evidence of Chinese aggression. And its impact on India's Indo-Pacific engagement has evolved significantly over the last 3 decades. The transition from Look East policy in 2014 reflects India's recognition of strategic importance. India's maritime outlook is guided by Southern doctrine, security and growth.
Please conclude within 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Let me. To conclude, the events around the Second Thomas Hall illustrate how maritime coercion can be used to challenge sovereignty without restoring to open warfare. China's use of Coast Guard vessels, maritime militia, legal ambiguity, and incremental pressure represent sophisticated form of strategic competition that is increasingly shaping the Indo-Pacific security environment. For India, the Philippines case serves as both a warning and a lesson. The most effective response lies not only in military strength but also in stronger maritime surveillance, proactive diplomacy, coalition building, strategic communication, and unwavering supports to international maritime law. As China's influence continues to expand across the Indo-Pacific, India must prepare not merely to react to future challenges but to shape the regional security environment proactively. Thank you for your attention. I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Dibba madam. Stay with us. The next presenter is Satyendra Gupta and Rajesh Kumar. Satyendra Gupta and Rajesh Kumar. Anybody? Yes, sir. Start your presentation and complete it within 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, Chair and fellow researchers. Today I am honored to present our paper, Fractured Forum, Flexible Coalitions, India's Role in Conflict Management During the Russia-Ukraine War, co-authored with my research supervisor, Professor Rajesh Kumar, sir. The central puzzle of this research lies in how an emerging global power like India navigates the deep systematic shock of a major continental war, the Russia-Ukraine war, when the traditional security architecture of the world has completely fractured. While mainstream discourse often frames India's stance through a systematic, simplistic lens of passivity or hesitation, our paper approaches this from a classical realist paradigm, demonstrating how New Delhi uses strategic autonomy as an active and pragmatic mechanism for global conflict management. This study addresses 3 core questions. First, how does an emerging power like India preserve systematic stability and national security when formal multilateralism collapses? Second, how does it manage a dual pillar approach, balancing defense defense reliance, and bargaining economic and strategic ties to the West. And third, how do overlapping mini-lateral networks operate as functional alternatives to a paralyzed UN? To conceptualize India's foreign policy choices, we have developed a classical realist model, the strategic autonomy utility function. It is SAU. As displayed on the slide, the utility of strategic autonomy is a function of three weighted variables. First is defense security, second is economic insulation, and third is valence against structural alignment cost. Our study analyzes the root cause of current systematic shift, the complete gridlock of formal multilateralism, the post-1945 institutional design of the UN Security Council, permanent members to a unilateral bloc, collective enforcement. Russia's veto power effectively institutionalized inaction, turning the UNSC chamber as into a stage for formative diplomacy and rhetoric figure pointed rather than mediation. The institutional paralysis has forced a migration of diplomatic authority. Middle and emerging powers like India can no longer rely on comprehensive global bodies. Consequently, they are actively shifting their strategic investment toward fragile and functional minilateral coalitions to preserve local stability and coordinate urgent national interest. So now look at the empirical proof of a strategy. That table shown in the presentation there shows India's voting behavior across the UNGA's resolution in the ES 11 series from 2022 to 23. You will notice a highly.
Please conclude within 1 minute.
All sir.
Sir, please conclude within 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay, sir. So, if we go on final conclusion, how India's active conflict management, works there. So, first, it preserves uncompromised communication because New Delhi has refused to join a unilateral sanctions regime. Its high-level diplomatic channels remain open to Moscow, Kiev, Washington, Brussels, etc. Second, it enables direct dialogue between the parties. When Prime Minister Modi looked at President Putin in smirked and stated, "Today's era is not an era of war." It carried immense weight because it came from a trusted, independent partner, not an adversarial bloc. Finally, India has played quite essential backchannel role in stabilizing critical global supply chains, securing green corridors, de-escalating nuclear anxieties around the Zaporizhia power plant. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Satyendra sir. Stay with us. Next presenter is Archana Paswan. Archana Paswan, are you there? Please,
am I audible, sir?
Please start your presentation. You are audible. Please
Yes.
start your presentation.
Okay. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I am Archana Paswan. I'm a research scholar at the Department of Political Science, Ranchi University, and my area is India-Japan relation. Today, I'm presenting my paper on India's strategic engagement with the quadrilateral security dialogue and the push for Indo-Pacific power equation. And my paper is mostly based on secondary sources that include the study of newspaper analysis, reports, articles, and etc. And mainly it is qualitative in nature. So there are three research questions that I have focused upon. Firstly, it is how India plays a significant role in the Indo-Pacific, and moving on to second, how Quad maintains a stable balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region by countering China's growing assertiveness. Third, what are the roles played by India in the flourishing geopolitical power dynamics of the Indo-Pacific strategic order of the contemporary times? So, I would like to start my presentation by introducing the Indo-Pacific. So today, the Indo-Pacific, the term we say, it is not something a rare term. Everyone is very much familiar with how the region has evolved into one of the most critical geostrategic regions, and the Indo-Pacific region has emerged as a hotspot of global politics in the 21st century due to its geopolitical and economic significance. Today, maritime security has become one of the most critical and crucial concern. And in this scenario, if we see, when the expansionist China is increasing its footprint in the Indo-Pacific region aggressively, mostly in the Indian Ocean region and the South China Sea, India's role within and outside the quadrilateral security dialogue becomes very significant. India's proactive stand is prominent in counterbalancing the overarching dominance of China in the Indo-Pacific region. In the geopolitical turmoil that we see today, and how the power dynamics are changing, like we see the role of US and how China, the recent meeting, if we see the visit of Trump to China and then the Quad summit in India, everything presents a very dynamic and different geopolitical picture. So in this scenario, we can say that India has emphasized on establishing peace in the Indo-Pacific region with the like-minded countries that share democratic values, and prominently this indicates towards the four quadrilateral nations that are the United States, Australia, Japan, and the India itself. India has been one of the first nation or among the earliest nation to adopt the formal Indo-Pacific framework. During 2018 Shangri-La Dialogue, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized on Indo-Pacific and described it as a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific order. However, it can be said that while India participates in Quad, its core strategic focus lies more heavily on Indian Ocean region than the Pacific region. India's role in the Quad helps to influence the group agenda, and its pragmatic involvement with the quadrilateral security dialogue safeguards its national interest while maintaining the strategic autonomy. India maintains a very hedging strategy within the Quad, and if we see the Indian foreign policy outlook, the Quad has become a central pillar of Indian foreign policy. The recent Quad summit and India's well-negotiated engagement with disengagement with China along the line of actual control illustrates how India's way of balancing its national interest is moving towards. Thus, India's involvement with the Quad or within the Quad remain crucial to counterbalance China and its influence in the region. As the Quad continues to evolve, India's engagement would remain pragmatic, that is, it can secure its national interest while also maintaining its strategic autonomy in an increasingly multipolar world order. There are various challenges, like the recent summit also saw some of the concerning issues, like there have been no clarity on the next quadrilateral.
Please conclude within 1 minute.
Okay, sir. Like there have been no consensus on the next quadrilateral leader summit. Like if we don't know if the Quad has downgraded to final finance ministers level or not. So despite this challenges, we need to see how India is maintaining its strategic autonomy while having a more pragmatic foreign policy approach in the Quad, within the Quad, and towards the Indo-Pacific region. With this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank
the
you.
next presenter is Shauro Dasgupta. Shauro Dasgupta, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Please start your presentation and taking only 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. So is my presentation visible? Sir, is my presentation visible?
No.
Yes, so now is it visible?
No. Yes. It is visible. Please carry on.
Yes, sir. So, good evening, everyone. I am Shrodha Gupta from Department of Pol Science, Kalyani University. The topic that I am presenting today is Indian strategic culture from ancient to post-independence India. Initially, India had very strong realist thinkers like Chanakya. In medieval times, our thinkers were mainly around concept kings like Shivaji Maharaj and the Rajput kings like Rajput kings like Rana Pratap. In the modern period of time, when the British Army came to force, they tried to reduce strategic sense in us. After post-independence, initially we shifted to idealism, and in modern era, we are focused on both idealism and realism because we are focusing on civilization continuum of Indian strategic thought from the ancient times, drawing on sources like Arthashastra, Dharmashastras, Kautilya's, and Mahabharata and Ramayana. And we're also trying to blend our moral leadership of Dharma and Ahimsa with nation building and nationalism. If we talk about the ancient strategic culture, Kautilya talked about Mandal theory. If we look at the Mandal theory mainly, and we look at today's geographical location of India, if we consider India to be an expansionist power, having a Mitra in the neighbor, that is Nepal, Bhutan or Bangladesh, a hostile country, Ari, that's Pakistan, a friend of a hostile country, Ari Mitra, that is China. Udashin means a power that is far away, it is looking to exploit the region. They take the case of United States or United Kingdom. This matches closely with what is happening in India today. He also gets the concept Matsya Nyaya, that is means a hegemonic power will slowly gobble up the power that are not so powerful and will try to bend them to his own will. If we look at the medieval strategic thought, then we find that Akbar, Shivaji, Rana Pratap, basically they all tried to continue with this Arthashastra thought. They also tried to modernize the military forces and also build huge forts, especially in places like Rajasthan and Maharashtra. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj continued Rajendra Chola's legacy of strengthening the navy under the leadership of Kanhoji Angre. In the modern period, as the British came about, they also decided to Europeanize the military forces. According to Major General G.D. Bakshi, the Indians were persuaded to join the Indian army on a salary of 2.5 rupees. And with only the lower section of Indian society when initially joined, and later following the success of many Indian officers, many other families were encouraged to send them to the Indian armed forces. When India became independent, we focused on non-land movement, keeping friendship with everybody while remaining sturdy in our objectives. We tried to build friendships with everyone. Take the case of Panchsheel. Pandit Nehru used to speak about disarmament at the United Nations, but our weakness was exposed after we lost the 1962 Sino-Indian War. In the post-Nehru era, we started to shift towards militaristic orientation, and from 1974 and 1998, we conducted Pokhran 1 and Pokhran 2. While we said we'll follow no first use policy, and we would also assure the rest of the world that we're not going to use nuclear weapons on a first basis, and we will rather strengthen the conventional military forces, especially building on alliances with Israel and the United States. Now, if we take the case of today's situation, then we will find out that today we are focused on strategic autonomy, a continuation of the Nehru era. We are also focusing on peace while developing hard power. Thirdly, we are continuously focused on building a national interest every time, like buying cheap Russian oil during the Ukrainian crisis, which Dr. Jaishankar has repeatedly spoken about on various fora. At the same time, we are also trying to help out other countries in need, like the case of Egyptian country like Egypt or cases of the African countries by supplying them with vaccines, by supplying them with food items in times of the difficulty. And Syrian ex-foreign minister said that India provided them with rice at a time nobody gave them any food donations. And we are trying to adapt to multipolar global realities by trying to balance up with different countries. Their conclusion